That's your stance right there. You want go ahead and say it again for everybody.
This show sucked ass. Hashtag the Game Awards. It's on Twitter. Feel free to like it, retweet it. 175 likes in just a few minutes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Sean.
All right. God bless everyone. Had fun.
Okay. So we just got done watching the Game Awards. Let's talk about it for a few minutes here for our immediate reactions. Let's get those down. Okay. It was 3 hours long. It was 3.5 hours, right? If you count the pre-show. And how many substantial announcements would you say were here? So we had The Matrix Awakens. Nate says that's pretty cool. I mean, from what they showed, it looks more, I guess, closer to a game as opposed to just a tech demo that you're walking around, because they did show you shooting stuff and visually it's supposed to impress you is the idea.
Yeah, there's some interactive spots in it.
It's our first real look at Unreal Engine 5 on our own system that's not through a crush stream, basically. That's not Fortnite, because that just got the upgrade. Let's see. We had Arc Raiders. That was a new announcement. We had the Elden Ring story trailer.
That one game from the Silent Hill guy with the
Halo, the series that's going to Paramount Plus.
Yeah, what was it? It was Splitterhead.
GTFO is out of early access now. That actually released, or during the show. Crossfire X is coming February 10th. Plague Tale Requiem still 2022. Rumbleverse. That's Iron Galaxy and Epic Games. Yeah, it looked a little
fighting brawl.
It looked kind of like Knockout City, but it's like a fighting game, kind of arena fighting game, I guess. For what they were showing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think that's what it was. Among Us VR.
Yeah,
so that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Forspoken, that got the release date of May 24th. I mean, it's another game that I think looks good, and I'm basically just ready to play it. I think that's what I said about several games here, is like I'm already sold on it and I'm just ready to play it. Suicide Squad got its gameplay reveal here. I'm still trying to figure out exactly the game mechanics and how it's going to play from beginning to end in terms of mission structure or any of that. But from what they showed, visually it looks good. They showed the Flash kind of fighting the Suicide Squad itself. And it's Rocksteady. I still have faith in them, so I need to see more about how the game is going to function structurally. Sonic Frontiers. Gameplay. Kinda. Sort of.
A couple sweeping shots of what looked in-game.
Yeah, it was, I guess, just showing off the visuals and what they're aiming for, which I'm starting to think this game is, based on what they showed, it did try to mimic the Breath of the Wild reveal trailer.
100%.
It looks like they're going for that big, expansive open-world Sonic game. So I'm starting to sit here and think that this is not going to come out in 2022. I'm thinking it's going to
holiday, so it's still a ways away regardless. So
I think that's a 2023 game now, just based on what they showed. It looked pretty serious. Let's see. We then had actually a lot of movie trailers here too. Now I'm looking at it. We had the Sonic movie. We had what's that? Nightmare Alley. Of course, The Matrix. Cuphead DLC, dated June 30th. Good to hear. We've been waiting a long time for that to be a thing. PUBG's going free to play. Why not? I feel like everyone who wants it has probably bought it by now. Splitterhead, you guys said that. Slitterhead. It's from Bokeh Games Studio. Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's coming to PC December 16th. That is a week from now. It's out on PC. They just wanted to get that thing out for the holiday, huh, Nate?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because the original plan was to shadow drop it on Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an odd... I mean, I guess if it's going to PC and the Epic Game Store, a lot of people are probably going to get PC parts or upgrades anyway, or entire PCs. So they figure, hey, it's digitally available. You know, it's not like they're shipping a disc or anything really for it, so why not? But, I mean, I guess they were like, wow, exclusivity deal's up, let's do it now.
Yeah, this way you announce it the day the deal expired, and you're dropping it in literally a week. So you get a little bit of that marketing hype and use the Game Awards to really get the message across to people and piss some people off that it's exclusive to the Epic Game Store.
But now we know that the deal is up, basically, right, for Sony. We assume that it's across the board. So it could show up on Xbox sometime next year is kind of the way I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, if Microsoft could get it, if Square wants to bring it to Xbox, they now have the freedom to do so.
Sure. Maybe they'll just drop it in Game Pass. I think you mentioned that during the stream. Why
It'd
not?
be awesome if they did.
Yeah.
I mean,
why not? Let's see. Horizon Forbidden West got another trailer. It looks good. I'm ready to play it. That's out in a little over 2 months now. So ready whenever that wants to drop. Alan Wake 2 got the big announcement. A lot of Alan Wake fans, I'm sure, excited for this. Survival horror game. A little different. I mean, the first one was kind of horror, you know, had those vibes to it. But this looks like it's going to be a bit more, I guess, terrifying or scary, or lean into what we've seen with other survival horror games. You seem pretty excited about that one, Nate.
yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for that.
They announced it for it's coming 2023. Like, we potentially could be up to 2 years away from this game coming out.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting that they decided to throw on a date on it at this point. But at the same time, if you can, do it.
Star Wars Eclipse, that was revealed, developed by Quantic Dream. You said that this might be a little more action than we've seen before with things like Detroit Become Human. So
you would think, just because it's the Star Wars game. I mean, if you really just go that narrative structure with a lot of slow-paced elements to it, the story is told well, it could work.
yes.
I don't know if I would trust Quantic Dream to actually tell a coherent story. But then again, to Star Wars, George Lucas hasn't really told a coherent story in 30 years either.
To my understanding, the way it works with Star Wars and the deal with like Marvel is they're very serious about the story elements, the different things that are created originally. They have to match up with other things in the universe. So I feel like they're going to be watched closely with this. It would be my understanding. Let's see. We had Hellblade 2 was shown. That looked good. If that is actually how it turns out, visuals in the game, that looked very impressive. So that's no release date, window, nothing. Just wanted to show off how it looked in game. I mean, it looked good. And we had Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. It's coming Switch, PS4, and Steam March 17th. So another Persona game going to other platforms. Still not quite hitting Persona 4 Golden on like the Switch, or Persona 5 going to PC and the Switch. Nothing like that yet. They're getting closer, I feel like, to just getting Persona on everything. But we still don't know if there's a deal for Sony and the Persona series anyway, as it is.
Well, I mean, they've brought a few of the mainline series over to like PC. They just haven't brought them over to another platform. So it could just be, there's probably money changing hands in some form. Because it's been way too long.
You guys did mention Babylon's Fall didn't look very good. That's out March 3rd. That was part of the pre-show as well. I was just going down and look at the pre-show stuff too. Babylon's Fall, March 3rd. Unfortunately, it's not being praised very much. So we'll see how that one turns out. And the winner for Game of the Year was It Takes Two. That's fine. That's a good winner for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I don't think it winning is controversial. I think the only reason it really didn't enter the conversation, I would say, among the casual audience is that not a lot of people played it.
Yeah.
So it just kind of fell out of mind when you looked at bigger games like Metroid Dread, Resident Evil. So those came, out first because everyone played those games. They were fresh in your memory, and It Takes Two was just kind of that fallback option that very few had played, but it had universal critical acclaim. Those who played it were praising it. So I don't think there's any controversy with it winning.
Yeah, not at all. But that was the Game Awards. And I think based on what we saw here versus the other previous years for Game Awards, this was probably one of the most disappointing ones, I would say. Overall. There just wasn't anything massive, nothing hard-hitting, anything like that here. I don't think the show itself, when they put it together, like the sets and all of that, like all that looks really nice. This either just wasn't a great year to kind of put these announcements in, like to gather them up from all the different companies for the end of the year, because no one had anything ready to go, or who knows. But based on previous years where we had things like, the Xbox Series X being shown, or Joker going to Smash, or Sephiroth, this was, I would say, kind of a down year looking back on it.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Microsoft, especially last year, you could see that they're pivoting to make E3 really their priority in terms of showcases. So there was really no need to have anything that extravagant at the Game Awards. Hellblade 2 makes sense. This was something that they have been wanting to show now for a while, and the internal marketing had always indicated that they were going to show it at the Game Awards. But with Nintendo, without Smash Brothers, everyone led to that speculation of what could Nintendo have, and the default was Breath of the Wild 2. But as numerous people had said, we just saw it at E3. If the game is still a year out and they want to keep some secrecy to the gameplay and even the title of the game itself, you're going to wait until next E3 to give those type of important details. Why are you going to give it potentially 12 or more months out from release? You're going to keep that close to the chest until you know you have a date locked in and you're willing to give away the secrets and the concept of the game. Sony has never come to the Game Awards, at least in the last 4 or 5 years, with anything meaningful. The fact that we even got Horizon is kind of surprising, but the game's release is only a few months away. I was actually a little surprised we didn't see some sort of cross promotion with Uncharted, with the film and the Uncharted, the 2 games?
The Legacy of Thieves collection, yeah.
The Legacy of Thieves collection that they dated this week. That seems like an announcement that they could have held for the Game Awards, just as a simple crossover with the Hollywood love that we know Keighley has. Show a trailer of the movie, date the PS5 version of the game, and it seemed like easy cross promotion. The fact that they did that on their own is kind of surprising, but Sony's lack of a presence there isn't all that surprising when you look at their history.
So I'm looking back on some of the quotes and stuff we've had. I think one of the reasons there's gonna be disappointment overall, and I'm already seeing it on Twitter, I was looking through it now, is the way this works with these shows, specifically this one, is there is Jeff Keighley, his job obviously is to get viewership, bring up hype and all of that, and then you get quotes like there are at least 4 or 5 things at the Game Awards that's on the same level as the Elden Ring gameplay reveal trailer, right? Something like that. So that was going around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was anything really like that here. Like 4 or 5 things.
I mean, I think it really comes down to your attachment to a franchise or even to a platform to a certain degree. Because like the Hellblade 2 gameplay trailer, is that not at the level of what the Elden Ring trailer was back in June?
You know, I will say, I don't know. Maybe. I will say, if you're a massive Sonic fan and they just showed you a Breath of the Wild Sonic, you're probably like through the roof right now. So I guess I can see it from that perspective. Yeah, but like I think that's the biggest thing is we went into this. There was a lot of hype. There was a lot of expectation. There's so much talk around something like a Breath of the Wild 2 being shown there in some capacity or
right.
There were a lot of things that were hyped up, and then get slapped with reality as we go through about 3.5 hours of an awards show mixed in with a lot of commercials. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when you look back at last year. Everyone could look at last year's show and say, well, we weren't expecting anything too big due to COVID. So this year, people thought developers had caught up and they wanted to have this big grand show where they were going to reveal all these projects that they weren't able to reveal either last year or maybe at E3 just due to timing. But the impacts of COVID are still hindering development of games. And I mean, look at what we saw tonight.
Yeah.
Companies didn't come with big new reveals outside of just the handful that we already mentioned. A lot of it was just reintroducing projects that are in the pipeline to this big audience to say, hey, we do have games coming. I mean, we had games like Alan Wake 2, 2023.
There's going to be some reactions. I'm just going to say that this is, probably the more, I would say you could even say one of the weakest shows out of the Game Awards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing I'm coming away from. Like, usually I'm like, oh, did you see that was really good? You know, like I said, that Xbox Series X, or I mean, how many people lost their minds online when Sephiroth, cut the whole world in Smash in half or something?
There wasn't that big.
Yeah.
Oh my God moment. I can't believe this was just announced. As big as Alan Wake 2 is. It's not going to have that type of reception outside of the fans it already has, which is admittedly quite small. It's only about 4 or 5 million bought the original game. It just doesn't have that mass casual appeal where people really get excited about the Alan Wake franchise because it doesn't have that name recognition. And even like Hellblade 2, yes, the gameplay looks phenomenal, but it's Hellblade.
Yeah, it doesn't have that long standing, like that lineage of releases, or that attachment to a franchise just yet. I mean, it could someday, but yeah, definitely, definitely a time where I probably could have been playing Halo for most of it.
I mean, this is the point that's reiterated year after year. Is if you live in like Europe, or if this was broadcasting at 4 a.m. for you in whatever region of the world you live in, it's stay asleep. When you wake up, it'll be done and you can see the headlines, because year after year, there's really no big reveal that you have to see in the moment. Is it a fun show you can sit down and enjoy with friends, or maybe on a stream like this? Yeah, because you can kind of, talk the shit when something weird is happening during the show. But if it's airing in the middle of the night, sleep.
This is
Don't miss work to watch this.
Well, yeah, don't do that. Dark Dreams, Sonic Movie 2 trailer, Frontiers, and Alan Wake 2. I got what I wanted. Hey, they showed Knuckles. That was pretty cool. Knuckles looked pretty good in the movie. Brendan says, happy for Joseph. Cool win. Dread got an awards. That's nice. Psychonauts 2 not getting anything is a snub. I'll agree on that. I think Psychonauts 2 should have won something there.
I think that should have won, what was it, art direction? I think
Yeah.
that should have won that. That was one of the most creatively beautiful looking games I've ever played.
I'd agree with that. So I guess the last question is, was the show too long, and how realistically would you say, how long would you say the show should be going forward? Like, what's your realistic timetable of, with the pre-show included, how long should this whole thing be? We'll say going forward.
That's a challenging question to really give an answer to, because if it were just about the awards, there's no reason this could not be a 90-minute show, not including the pre-show. The problem is that Jeff wants as many of these publishers to be on stage as he can get, because they have to pay to be there. So it's ultimately about how much money does he want to bring in to do the show, and that's what dictates the length.
Right.
But if that was not a factor, there is no reason this can't be a 90-minute show.
I mean, could they? That's what I mean. Could they like even scale back on some of the production and stuff and make it a nice, like, I guess tight, like, hour to hour and a half? Like, does it have to be like a 3-hour spectacle necessarily?
No. What was shown today that had to be, that's the flaw with the show. If you probably look at it piece by piece, and some of the announcements, some of the gameplay reveals that we had, some of the reintroduction to previously announced titles, you'd probably look at it and say, that's not that bad of a lineup. The flaw is that it took 3.5 hours to see it, and that is a long time commitment with pacing issues and all those other factors contributing to it. But if this was something, let's say this spanned out over 3 days with the same hour intervals of announcements, like for
that's
the
not
hour
a bad
one,
idea. Make it like a mini E3 kind of thing for the course of like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or you could do that and like have Saturday be like the big show where it's like and maybe even 2 hours then, and they have all the stuff there, and you could do that. I think realistically, a solid 2 hours with the pre-show included, it's like a half-hour pre-show. I think that's a good like middle ground. It's still long enough to include any of the commercials he probably needs to put in there, but it's still short enough to where we didn't feel like we watched, like, I mean, it was 3.5 hours. Like, I started streaming at 7:45 and it's now 11:32 at night. So yeah,
and that's the flaw. Is just there was nothing that was really shown that dictated the need for a 200-minute presentation.
Yeah.
And we can't blame music performances. We can't blame the presentation lengths of really any of the games or even the award sequences as a whole. It's just a poorly paced show.
You know what's interesting is the music performance, they were pretty quick. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, I feel like they were only a minute or two at most for each one. It was like, okay, they're on stage, they do their performance, and then they're out. Like, I didn't feel like any of those dragged on too long necessarily.
No, they all felt pretty timely and structured.
So, but that was the Game Awards 2021. I think it's going to go down as one of the more forgettable ones overall. Who knows? Maybe next year at the Game Awards, we'll see gameplay for some of the games announced here. Maybe Wonder Woman will be there. So, But let us know what you think down in the comments, everyone. We'll see you guys next time.